if your cash flow is always tied up in giving terms to your different customers, you just need to be really aware of how that's going to impact your cash. So let's talk about terms and why that's important in any facet of wholesale. So direct to consumer, as you know, the consumer orders the product, they typically pay with a credit card, and you're shipping that product right out. It's done from at-once inventory, it's done from inventory that you already have in the warehouse. Now let's talk about pre-booking. Pre-booking, the customer will come in, they will either work with a sales rep or on their own to pre-book their product. Now this could potentially be 6 months in advance. This could potentially be 3 months in advance. It really depends on the seasonality of the vertical. So if we're talking about swim or we're talking about fashion, that may happen 6 times a year, 4 times a year. If you're talking about maybe golf or footwear, that may happen twice a year. So if you can imagine, when you are pre-booking in January, you are actually buying product for spring or summer. If you're pre-booking in spring or summer, you're typically buying potentially even for the next year. So it really depends on the cycle of the industry. So not only are you purchasing the product and ordering it far in advance of when anybody is going to actually physically have that in their store, it is now getting shipped to your warehouse. Now it's sitting in inventory in your warehouse. Interesting fact on retailers is the best ones, and most of them, will require a 30 to 45 day term. So not only are you essentially covering their cost or eating the risk there as it sits in your warehouse and then sits in their shop, they now get 30 to 45 days to sell that product without even paying you for it. This can really affect the cash flow of the business. And if you're not really good at inventory turns, if you're not really good at your purchasing, so you know just how many to buy to not have extra in your warehouse, you always want to have a little bit of extra because you always want to be able to refill orders and sell in at your at-once season. But you really need to be focusing on your inventory. And if not, that's really going to affect your cash flow. And why is that important? You probably want to use that cash to invest to grow your business. You want to use that cash flow to invest in software, to invest in new office, to invest in new warehouse space. And if your cash flow is always tied up in giving terms to your different customers, you just need to be really aware of how that's going to impact your cash.